Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Hey everybody, it's Joe back out on Monday. This is St. Patrick's Day, so I hope that you're able to enjoy and celebrate today with friends and family. Now, I got lucky today because I saw 4 of the Cybercabs in various states of testing. And in this image here, I was able to get 3 of them together. And of course, with some of these video clips, you can see what they look like from the ground level as they go around some of their testing routine, and also from the air. And just pretty neat to be able to see all of the Cybercabs testing all at the same time. So I'd say there's at least 4, if not 6 of them out today doing their testing. So they're really getting ready for that big event coming up in June when they launch the Robotaxi fleet here in Austin. As far as production for Model Ys, this is the beginning of a big work week, and I'm already seeing early in the morning a lot of the Model Ys coming out of the factory and driving over to the outbound lots. So hopefully we're going to see a big ramp up of the production rates of the Model Ys now that they've gotten through all of the setup and preparation and training of employees on the production lines. So hopefully that is what we'll see throughout the rest of the week. The last thing I just want to talk about is on that north end, the Central Campus Support Facility, also known as Cortex 2. That grade work is continuing, and it is starting to look like a site just about ready for excavation for the footings to begin. Now, speaking of which, crews are busy today doing the rebar cages for those column footings. And with these images, you get a good sense of the number that they are making with all of the rebar, and also by looking at the size of the workers, getting a sense of scale. So these are going to be very large footings as well, very similar to what we saw at Giga-Texas itself when it was under construction. And of course, on that north end, we know that they're going to be building 3 facilities, and 2 of them larger, and then 1 of them a little bit smaller, and of course 2 of the 5 million gallon water tanks, among a lot of other construction. So that is something that is definitely making progress, and I'll continue to watch this as it develops over time, and we'll see how this is going to look. But I will say that it has completely transformed that north end from what we used to see with that old concrete batch plant now into much more of an industrial area, and tying it all together with the main factory and the die shop and the cathode plant. So anyway, a lot more to see in the video today. Again, it's St. Patrick's Day, so I feel lucky today, and a lot of neat things to be able to show you. As always, take care, and thank you very much for your support. I hope you have a great week. So let's get the drone in the air and fly around Giga-Texas.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Good morning and happy St. Patrick's Day from the east side of Giga-Texas. We're just flying over the recycling center, looking back towards the west. The parking lot on the right is starting to fill up, which is great. This is early on a Monday, so production is just gearing back up for what should be a bump up in the production rate for the Model Ys today. Also in the center of the screen in that old testing and calibration lot, there are many Cybertrucks that are being stored here, not on the west outbound lot, but there are plenty on this side of the site. Of course, the material staging yard here still has some of the pipe segments for the south end and also the underground water management system. Another thing that I'm looking at right now is this parking lot or parking garage. We can see the LiDAR equipped vehicles on the roof. Now, I've been told that there's something changing here at the parking garage. I'm not specifically sure what that is. I'm looking for it right now. The privacy fence is still on the ground, but it'll be something that I'll come back on my next video and take a look at. But apparently there is some change in some of the operations that's going on in that parking lot, which would be very interesting for all of us. So anyway, I did fly back over towards the parking lot. I didn't see anything obvious at this point in time, but like I said, on my next video, I'll try to spend a little bit more time here. On the east side of the factory near the stamping machine structure, we still see some of those deliveries being made along this side. The large wooden crates that were there on my previous video have all been unpacked and moved inside, but we still see those white racks and the red equipment on the right-hand side of the screen. As I zoom in, we can get a good sense of the amount of glass that is being installed. Of course, they have 4 of the 6 fan units working, so we have a lot of the vapors kind of obscuring those glass panels, but it's a really nice look at the ground level with all the plastic removed at the equipment and with the lighting that we have. So move around the vapors. This is a closer view of the glass, and we can see that they are still working on that kind of funnel in section of the factory on the second floor. And I still think that there's a driveway that's going to happen underneath where they are working. But as I pull away, I wanted to give you a look at the overall site of Giga-Texas, the factory across the highway to the outbound lot. And I'm going to turn towards the south. And I'm going to fly farther to the south than normal. I want to show you where some of the caisson construction is underway. Here is one, the farthest to the south. We'll zoom in. You can get a good sense of that sinking caisson that is under construction. This is part of the larger water intercept system. They also have kind of a water management pond there. A new bunch of apartments being put in, plus this field here. And as I turn back to the north, you'll see another one of those caissons that we've been watching under construction just to the south side of the Colorado River. Now we'll resume on the other side of the highway. I'll bring the drone down a little lower, get a good look at the activity here. They continue to build this caisson. More rebar on the top suggests that there's at least another ring or 2 of concrete, and that'll continue to sink down into the ground until they get to the proper level. On the other side of the Colorado River, we see that caisson with the boring machine, and I think that that is going to come under the Colorado River and tie into this caisson once it is completed. So it's a great amount of progress that is being done all along this side of the property and also south of Giga-Texas's property, which is kind of bordered by the Colorado River. Now, as I bring the drone back up and we fly to the north, I will show you this other caisson that has the boring machine being assembled inside. As I get closer, I'll look down into the actual caisson itself, and I will zoom in so we have a better view. But you can see part of the tunnel boring machine on the right-hand side of the opening, and it is waiting for its term to be assembled. On the inside, we can see more of the parts of the boring tunnel machine being set up, and they have that kind of a false floor there so that the workers can work safely. And of course, the crane is getting ready to be lowering in some of the equipment needed for that tunnel boring machine. And as I mentioned, this will go to the south under the Colorado River and connect into the other caissons that are being constructed that we just saw. This is a nice view with the lighting across the west support facility and the west warehouse on wheels. and some of the materials that are being stored on that upper part of the screen. Today, I'm just going to stay on this side of the site, bring the drone down lower, and show you some of the landscaping around the Cyber Tunnel, some of the gravel that is around it as well, and they are preparing the ground for additional landscaping, probably some sort of vegetation. Do not see any Cybertrucks coming out of the tunnel today, but as we look up towards the top of the screen, the outbound lot becomes in view, and the biggest thing that you will notice is that there's really not a lot of vehicles. They're just now starting to bring the Model Ys being produced today over to this part of the lot, but otherwise they did a really great job this weekend with the transport trucks picking up and transporting off site all of the vehicles. As I fly up to the north, continuing to look at the outbound lot, it's a nice look at how empty it is. And in this lot where we saw a lot of Cybertrucks on my previous video on Friday, they seem to be almost all gone. So that's another interesting development. I don't know if they're the ones that we saw on the east side or if they've already been moved off site, but this is a good kind of an overview of what is going on with the outbound lot today. Of course, it is an early morning and the production is just ginning up. Also, as a reminder, production still is Monday through Thursday, and then they transport a lot of the vehicles off-site during the weekend. So it's not uncommon right now that we see the lot empty, but I'm hoping that we'll see production ramping up and bringing back more of those shifts later on this year so that they can start building a lot more of those Model Ys. So I'm going to prepare to cross over the highway and we'll resume on the other side. As we see the other caisson on this side of the site, I also wanted to point out the Model Ys that are driving over to the outbound lot. And there's the line that just went underneath the drone. We see more of them on the way here. A couple of things to note: that they are driving autonomously, but they're supervised by the drivers, and the vans are what brings the drivers back. And that's one of the reasons why it's so important to get the autonomous driving underway and working the way Tesla wants, because they won't have to be using those transport vehicles for the drivers anymore. Nice view of the fork in the road and another of the Cybercabs driving by. You'll see it coming up on the left-hand side of the screen. I couldn't help but see just Cybercabs everywhere today, and I put a few standalone videos out about that training as well. Now here on the southwest side of the factory, still waiting to see what they're going to do with that large opening on the right-hand side of the screen. Another Cybercab just went by on the left-hand side of the screen, and we see some large deliveries of the X-Energy items. These are part of the data center support materials. And we will see this being delivered on multiple different parts of the site today, including up on the north end, which is an interesting development. As we continue to fly to the north along this west side, there's a few of the smaller glass panes on those pallets waiting for installation, or at least movement, possibly going to be used in this large opening where they're doing this window line. Bring the drone down and take a look at this opening. I still expect that white wall to be stained black so that it will kind of merge in with this whole window line once it is completed. Of course, this is that interface and how they are doing this architectural design to bring together the old window line on the left and the new window line on the right. The temporary platform is also very busy with these large deliveries today in the white plastic wrapping. I did notice that these were all being lifted up and put onto the platform and then moved inside. This is most likely additional production equipment. And as we will see here later today and on social media, and also I'll put into my next video, Sandy Moreau did talk to Lars about the Cybercab production line, and he did confirm that the equipment is being installed right now in the factory, so that is very possible to be related to that development. On the roof, we see more of the Unirack mounts being laid out and more in this pile. This is generally associated with more solar panels. I do not see the deliveries of the panels themselves, but we do see the bricks, the Unirack mounts, and some of the inverters that are used for the solar panels. So that's why I keep going to the roof to watch and monitor this side. I know there's a lot of people very interested in what they're doing with the solar on the roof. As we get down to a lower altitude, continuing to fly to the north up towards the west main entrance and the flagpoles, there are several developments that I would like to show you here. First, of course, the old generation Roadster is still on display at the west main entrance. And I like this kind of angle because you can get the reflection of the columns and beams into the windows, and it kind of makes it look like a kind of expanding tunnel effect. On this side of the road, we still have the Cybertruck with the display case and the new Model Y. And this is also used at various locations around the country. So at some point, I would expect to see this move off and being used somewhere else. Now, we do see more of the Model Ys coming out of the factory underneath the drone and also to the right-hand side. I'll zoom in, give you a good view of this movement. As you can see, there are drivers, the following van for the drivers to bring them back, but they are also doing it as a supervised autonomous driving. Here's another look at 3 more of the Quicksilver versions of the Model Y and that ramp where they are coming out of the factory. I still think that this work here for the exit for the factory for the Model Ys will be revised again later this year. And also I've been kind of under the impression that there will be a tunnel putting in here. And so all of that will be changing and it won't look quite as temporary as it does now. Speaking of which, here are temporary openings in the walls and the windows. This is used for more equipment delivery and maneuvering inside the factory on the 3rd floor through this area. So that is another great sign. Here at this new entranceway, we see that kind of stairway and the stylists, I think, on the inside of the doors, or at least the doorways. And this is a good look at how this is now coming together. I'll zoom in so you get a little closer view of what that appears like. But it looks like this is going to be for a lot of employees to be coming in and be checked in so they can begin their work. And I think that this white platform is going to be a bus stop. And you can tell with the lines and the markings on the concrete that that is most likely the case as well. As we continue to fly up to the north, I did notice these deliveries to the 4680s. I think some of this is the equipment that we've been seeing stored on the west side with the silver wrapping. This is what it looks like with that all removed. And we have been seeing a lot of this equipment being delivered and moved inside over the last several videos. And here is yet another example of that going on here today. This may indicate a good sign about 4680 production at the factory. As we continue to fly up around the northwest corner of the factory, I did notice another Cybercab, and it is stopping in this location. This is one of their testing locations where they simulate pickup of passengers. And then they will move the vehicles up to the north along the north side of the factory to yet another stop. So we'll follow this along for just a moment. Also, if you look closely in front of the truck is another Cybercab. They were testing a large number of Cybercabs today in various different routes around the factory. So I'm going to pull the drone up to a higher altitude and just give a quick view of the factory from the north side before we get back lower and look at some of the details along the north side. I did notice more building materials off to the right, those steel items and some other deliveries going into the 4680s that could be related to that equipment that we saw being delivered on the west side, those kind of white cabinets. So anyway, continues to have work done in that 4680 cell portion of the factory. The stands for the bumpers for the new Model Y, this is used for painting, are still arranged out on this side of the factory. Many more have been moved inside. We do see that Cybertruck body in white next to the wall that has not moved in a while. More of the racks have the castings inside along this northeast corner. And of course, we see the open vaults for more of that cable and conduit that is for the Cortex computer cluster on the south end. A large delivery in an accordion truck. Unfortunately, it wasn't open, so I couldn't see what was inside, but I was able to get down here lower and look into the melt plant, and I will zoom in here and give you some closer look at what is going on here. Of course, the furnace loading system, the blast wall, and you can see these blocks that look sort of like Legos. I have a viewer of mine that suggests that maybe they'll be using this for I don't know, refuge or hot items from the furnace. That's possible. It'll be just something that I continue to monitor. As I turn back towards the north part of the site, I wanted to fly over this material and casting sorting lot just to show you these items. These are the paint stamps for the old Model Y bumpers, and many of them have already been moved off site. There's a lot less than there were. Of course, these are no longer needed as they have stopped manufacturing the old version of the Model Y. So right now, this is part of that final changeover of the factory to the new Model Y. Many more of the racks for the castings up on this site. All look about empty, with just a few have a few castings in it. So I think they're just using this for temporary storage. As we get ready to cross over Tesla Road, I want to show you this new road that is being prepared that goes up near the Megapacks up to the north, and this will allow for access to that new concrete batch plant that they've recently renovated at the top of the screen. A nice view of the existing Megapack site. If you take a look at its design, it is very different to the new Megapack design that is being constructed just to the right of the screen. As I go over the power lines, I'll bring the drone around, show you the electrical switch yard and how it is coming together today. Also, on the right-hand side of the screen, next to where you see that control trailer and that kind of that grass-lined pond and this large excavation area, this is where the switch yard is about to be doubled in size. So instead of the current 3 large transformers, the A-frame bays 1, 2, and 3, there's going to be 6 of each. And that will help power not only Cortex, but Cortex 2, which we will see under construction in a moment. But there's a lot more earthwork being done here next to this new Megapack. As I mentioned earlier, this is a different design. You can tell with the transformers down the middle, the beams for the Megapacks. Also, these 4 concrete pedestals that were poured over the weekend, and now it looks like it's in the curing process. We'll have very large conduit coming up out of the ground. Of course, the cable trays along the mid-side of all of these transformers. Now, as we continue to fly towards the south, I wanted to just show you again where there's at least 1 Megapack that has been delivered just to the south of this kind of workshop area where we saw those 2 Cybertrucks. And on this pallet is one of the Megapacks. And you can tell by the markings on the top of the white wrapping. And I still think that this is just the first of many of the Megapacks that will be delivered, and we'll see how they install them at that new Megapack site. And here's a nice comparison between the 2 sites. The one on the left is the older one, and the one on the right is the newer one. As I bring the drone back up to a higher altitude, I wanted to show you the Central Support Campus and how it is starting to transform with all of the earthwork, the grade work, and the preparation for construction. So clearly there has been a lot of work done on that overall grade. We even see kind of a road structure going around that middle area where the 2 large buildings will be built, and we'll see that here shortly in more detail. But right here is where they've been finishing up some of the underground stormwater management pipe system that will run under the new Tesla Road extension through this area. Of course, we see more of the equipment and pipe segments on the ground that suggests that we will see more trenching and more of those connections, so that the construction site in the upper part of the screen will eventually drain over to this large pond and filtration system that we see next to the crash test facility. Speaking of which, this is what the crash test facility looks like today. They have been testing a lot of the new Model Ys. You can see them lined along the fence in the middle of the screen, and it looks like they are preparing for more testing of a variety of different kinds of impacts coming in the near future. Now, as I pivot the drone to look towards the north, we'll fly over that wade pit, which really hasn't been used in quite some time. The water is just from recent rains. This is the cell test lab and how it looks today, but I'm mostly interested in this large section here with some of the pipe segments and other materials on the bottom left of the screen. Concrete that is being broken up and prepared for recycling in the middle of the screen, and that has been changing some of its composition in the last few videos. To this section just to the south of that rental equipment lot in the upper right hand side of the screen, and the other lot with the materials being stored on the top of the screen. Here it looks like this is where much of the dirt is being temporarily stored, coming from that construction site in the upper part of the screen, and then this will be used later on as they continue construction in that area, or to help prepare this section here for maybe future construction. The other thing I wanted to stop by and look here is that all of the equipment, the stainless steel kind of tank, the bridge crane, and other items that have been stored here for a long time are now all gone. And they've been moved somewhere else within the factory, perhaps inside of the cathode machine building, or maybe the die shop. They are not visible, at least for right now, on any place that I have visited today. So I'll keep an eye out to see if we can determine where all that went. As we fly over this middle section with some of the trailers and the fenced off material staging yard, I'm going to give you a close look at the chiller plant and the look down the alleyway to where all of that work is being done underground for that stormwater management pipe that we talked about earlier. And don't see any of the condensation or icing on the vaporizers today. Now here on the north side of the die shop, we see these bridge crane items being delivered with 30,000 pound capacity, other items on the ground waiting for installation. Of course, this outside furnace that is used for manufacturing some of the die pieces inside the die shop. As we come around the west corner of the die shop, this is a nice close-in view of some of the work with the rebar cages for the footings that will support columns of the new buildings. I did have a viewer that asked me to do kind of an extended look at the preparation of the rebar cages. So this is my attempt to do that. I'll just kind of fly along the side, speed it up a little, but with this you can get a sense of how they are manufacturing the footings, the size and scale based on the size of the workers themselves, and of course the numbers. Now it looks like there's two different kinds. You have a basic cage, and then you also have a cage that has larger concrete footings for the columns. And we'll have to see how these are going to be installed and where they're going to be used in the construction of the new facilities. And as I mentioned before, there will be two of the larger ones on the center right of the screen, and then on the top, on the farther north of that will be a smaller building, and then of course two 5 million gallon water tanks. As I stay at this lower altitude, this is flying through where those two longer buildings will be manufactured or constructed. We do see some cones kind of dividing up the property and these sections, and on the ground you can see the groupings of circles on the ground. That's where their augers have been busy reinforcing parts of the ground, and I suspect that that's where we will see the footing excavations for all of those rebar cages that we just saw. So I'm going to come back up to the north, bring the drone up to a higher altitude. I want to give you an overall perspective of what this site looks like and how it is continuing to transform, and also looking back towards the main factory for context of where we are on the site. So overall, as you can tell, the grade work is continuing, and they are making a lot of progress towards the point where we'll start seeing some vertical construction, or at least with the footings, very soon. More of the center dump trucks bringing in dirt, or at least helping to redistribute the dirt around the site. Lower altitude view and pass as we come up into the augers, looking back towards the die shop and where those rebar cages are being constructed. And as I bring the drone back up to a higher altitude, a nice overall view of the entire site, many of the places that we visited today, and of course the main factory in the center of the screen. So that brings to an end the St. Patrick's Day flyover of Giga-Texas. I hope that you enjoyed what we were able to see and discuss throughout the video. As always, thank you very much for your support. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a great rest of the week. Take care.